Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm making this video for people who have a C5 Corvette and they want to install the Dewitts radiator with the engine oil cooler. If you chose the OEM style oil lines, it's got the hard line and the block that looks like this. I'll bring you up to it. Where is it? Right there. According to Dewitts, it's a C6 part that's modified, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, it's pretty difficult to install in the car. So I'm going to flip and you can kind of see my setup. So I've got one of the engine mount bolts loose, the one on this side. That bolt's completely loose. And then I've got the jacking up the engine, and I've got it up, I don't know, maybe about an inch. But that's up because if you look all the way up in there, let me get a flashlight. The lines have to go between the engine mount and the engine. Okay? Now that's not the most difficult part. If you notice, there's a bend, almost like an L shape in the lines right there. Okay, so that L shape, I'm going to get a demonstrational tool for you. That L shape kind of looks like this. See, this is just a piece of metal with an L shape. It's just to show you what I did. So when this thing's installed properly, this is about the angle, and you can see that's the angle up in there. Okay, but what I did was I actually had it the opposite way so that I could shove it up in there. But leaving the H-pipe of the exhaust, which is down on the ground now, you can't just do that. So what I did was I shoved it up in there between the engine mount and the engine, and then I'm going to come around here and show you this too. So these two pink capped off lines are it. See how it fishes right underneath the steering rack just like that? All right. What you got to do is as you go, push these two ends that are still hard lines. Fish this end while you're also fishing it from down here. And then you kind of got to twist it, turn it, make it get past little edges, whatever. These crimp-on parts that hold the black hose, those like to get stuck on stuff. And it's painful. Anyways, I found out that if you just take the exhaust out like that, it gives you a bunch of room right next to the oil filter. You jack the engine up like the internet tells you to. It fits. It goes. So now, the other part is you do need to modify your fan shrouds. So if you look, that line connecting into that port right there, that bend only sticks out so far. So it's gonna touch that. So I'm gonna break out the Dremel and see what happens. Should have done that while I had it out with the radiator, but oh well. Okay. So yeah, once you get everything up in there, then what I did was, like I said, I had it upside down. Once I got it far enough that the block could clear over here where the tunnel kind of tapers, I don't know what the right way to call it is. Once I got it up into there, I was able to just kind of shimmy and rotate and then get the block up above the oil filter where it mounts up right there. But while you're doing this, you got to be careful of that sealing surface on it, because this sheet metal all in here, all this sheet metal, nice sharp edges. My knuckles hurt from it because I bumped my knuckles into it. But you don't want those sharp edges cutting into your sealing surfaces on the gaskets, because the block itself is aluminum. So any of this steel under here with the little sharp edge is going to scratch the hell out of it. All right, back a little bit more. After the first video, I got the oil lines in, and they're plugged into the new radiator. Can't really see it, can you? There it is, right there. Back in there, where my light's about to touch. Those curvy lines. There's one up here on the top, kind of a pain to get in. The hose is real tight, but I went down around underneath steering rack up next to the EBCM or the ABS thing right here. The other line goes on the bottom, which is the one that's further away from the camera right now. That one went down over around to the radiator, and I'll lift it in a moment. But something I wanted to mention, before you tighten that block above the oil pump, there's one bolt right there that mounts this end of the lines. You want to get that bolt lined up and started before you even try to tighten the bolts on the block above the oil filter. And I'm going to lift the lift so you can see it. All right, we're up in the air. So the block right there, you don't even want to try to tighten that until you know the bolt hiding up in there is lined up. But we're going to follow the line. So we start back here, up in there. We'll follow the lines all the way down. Oh, there they are. And then boom, here's the one that's on the bottom. Remember I mentioned we're going to use the Dremel? Well, it's not pretty, but I cleared it out enough to let that line get through comfortably. If you don't do that, you're not going to be able to line the fitting up and push it in. All these fittings are, at least the OEM style ones, they're push to connect. And once you push them in, they got to stay lined up for the most part so that they clip in properly. It's just an O-ring hiding in there. But if you look, this line's got a little bit of slack in it. The one that goes up, it's tight. Like it's got no wiggle room. It's just there. Like it doesn't want to move. That's just kind of how it is, apparently. After looking at some Googles and some forum posts, excuse me, that's what people were saying, is that line is tight as can be. Now, I'm going to go back up to the top and talk about a little bit more. So, back at the top, you're going to notice I've got a lot of like room right here. That's because my power steering pump's been blowing power steering fluid everywhere, and as you can tell, it's wet and grimy in here. But in order to get to that pump, I had to remove the alternator, remove the bracket that holds the alternator, which also holds the power steering pump, and obviously the serpentine belt to go with it. But that gives you a lot of room to look down in there. You see, you can grab the hoses down in here, shimmy them around as you're fishing everything through, and I think that was a huge help. So if you're not getting them without removing stuff, remove the power steering pump and alternator, and while you're at it, look and see if your power steering hoses are leaking. If yours is anything like mine, both of my hoses were bad, so now I've got to put new hoses in as well. But at this point, I'm all connected. I've got the Dewitts Radiator in there. This thing is like 2 to 3 times more volume, I think. Either way, I take this car to track days. It's going to help with cooling, and judging by the performance the last time I went to the track, I need it. I saw coolant temperatures upwards of 220, sometimes a little bit more if I wasn't being careful, and then I've seen oil temps that I don't even want to mention, but they were above 250. So I had to do a bunch of cool down laps mid-runs just to kind of calm down, not overdo it. I didn't want to overheat the car and cause other problems. It is 20-something years old. So just trying to make this car reliable and make it so I can just keep going to the track. I don't need to get extra power. I just want to make sure the power it's got now is conserved and I don't kill the engine because I don't have the money for a new one.